Ex-gratia payments are discretionary sums made without any legal obligation to do so, either as a gesture of goodwill or, as the Principal Auditor describes them, golden handshakes. Tony Sacramento notes that most of the payments amounting to £11 million were made by No. 6 Convent Place, but since 2021, individual departments, notably the Department of Personnel and Development, have approved and funded a growing share. Between 2018 and 2024, he highlights some of the more significant payments. These include £3.61 million made by No. 6 Convent Place in October 2019 to former government employees who had transferred to Gibraltar Inex, later Gib Telecom, during the privatisation phase in the 1990s. The two largest payments between 2020 and 2021 were £243,000 and £174,000 made to former GDC officers who'd resigned from the civil service to join the tourism agency in the 1980s. These payments are described as addressing pension shortfalls. The following year, 2021 to 2022, the largest payment was £156,600 to a director at the Ministry for Education, Telecommunications and Justice. It was made under a verbal settlement agreement to terminate his contract by mutual agreement and was approved by the Chief Minister. In June 2022, £260,000 was paid to settle a Supreme Court claim brought by a GDC employee. The auditor says the payment should have been charged to the GDC and not as an ex-gratia payment by No. 6 Convent Place. A total of £1.42 million in ex-gratia payments was made between May and July 2023, mainly related to the early retirement of 4 RGP officers. These payments were approved by the Chief Minister. No details were forthcoming, barring for one, who was a medically retired officer. A total of £268,400 was paid out, being 27 payments made to 8 retired fire officers, over a CPD allowance increase they did not qualify for. But by far the biggest payment was made in April this year. £664,000 was paid to the government's media director on the termination of his contract due to his retirement. GBC reported in March that Clive Galt stepped down from the role after 15 years at No. 6. However, the Principal Auditor notes that his contract did not include a gratuity clause, meaning this lump sum was not contractually required. The usual notice period and 1 month's salary in lieu were waived exceptionally, and no explanation or documentation on this has been provided by No. 6, despite repeated requests. As GBC reported at the time, Clive Galt continues to be involved in the government's communication strategy. The Principal Auditor said he considers many of these payments to be excessive and in many cases unwarranted. In the absence of a government-wide policy, he says such payments appear to be unrestricted and uncontrolled, with decisions made without accountability. He adds the token annual budget of just over £1,000 for ex-gratia payments has allowed for large unchecked spending. Beyond financial concerns, the auditor says these practices undermine fairness across the public sector, raising questions of equity and consistency in the treatment of public servants. He also highlights the enormous difficulties, obstacles and delays he encountered during the course of the review in obtaining information and documentary evidence from the relevant government departments. He said in the end, much of the information he requested was not provided to him. Tony Sacramento described this as unconstitutional and unlawful, adding they violate provisions under the Gibraltar Constitution and audit legislation. You can find details of some of the more significant ex-gratia payments in pages 198 to 210 of the Principal Auditor's report.